All right, here's the deal. Paddleball market is extremely saturated with so many pickleball paddles. Nobody knows what the heck's going on, especially intro players or intermediate players who want a new paddle and they do their research, and all of a sudden there's hundreds of paddles with each one being a little bit different. This is going to be a 3-step guide on 3 things you should know about what paddle you should take. The first one I talk about is the material of the paddle itself. This ranges from wood to aluminum to a composite, all the way up to the graphite, fiberglass, and carbon fiber. Each one's a little bit different. The lower end paddles typically are wood and aluminum. As you get higher end, it's going to be graphite, fiberglass, and carbon fiber. The higher end ones have a little more spin, more pop, etc., a little bit more touch to it. They obviously are more expensive, $100 plus. The second thing that's really important is the actual thickness of the paddle itself. This usually ranges from 9 millimeters to 19 millimeters. There's a few that are kind of outliers, but that's a general gist of it. The thinner the paddle, the more power it's going to have, the more pop it's going to have. The thicker, the more feel you're going to have, especially at the net. This is going to be really, really important when choosing a paddle. I tend to lean anywhere from kind of 13 to 16 millimeters, and if I could pick 1 millimeter, it would be 16 millimeter, which is kind of the sweet spot when it comes to paddle thickness. The last thing to know is the actual shape of the paddle itself. Elongated, standard, wide-bodied. I prefer the standard elongated. This is probably the least impactful one, but it's important to know, especially because if you prefer maybe a little bit longer paddle where you have an extra ½ inch of reach at the net. This is also includes the handle itself. That's really important, especially if you're a tennis player or ex-tennis player. If you want to do two-handed swings, it's nice to have a 5-inch plus handle. I used to play with a 4.5-inch handle, and now all the paddles I play with, for the most part, are 5-inch plus, and it makes me feel way better because I have somewhat large hands, not huge, and helps me grip the paddle itself a little bit better and a little more feel for what the paddle actually does, and the spin, especially at the net. I feel like I have just a little bit extra reach at the net, and just feels better for me, more room on the handle itself. Overall, if I could pick one paddle, I would pick a graphite or a carbon fiber material, a 16 millimeter face, and then also a standard or elongated shape. That's at least for me. But overall, if you're looking for a new paddle, pick one that you think is going to be applied and be useful for your play style and who you are and your skill set. I would recommend, if you're a beginner and you're wanting to play and get into it more and more, to pick more of an intermediate style paddle. That might be a graphite or a carbon fiber 16 millimeter. It's going to be about $100. The most important thing, like I said, is just to pick one and stick with it and play with that one. If you pick a paddle and then all of a sudden you switch to a 13 millimeter, and then you bump to a 18 millimeter, then you go from a carbon fiber to all of a sudden a graphite to a fiberglass, each one's going to be a little bit different feel. So my biggest recommendation for someone is to find a paddle that's kind of right around their skill set, right around what their play style is. Maybe they're more power, maybe they're more of a soft and touch game. Buy a paddle that's going to fit that mold the best, and then stick with that and play with it, because you'll get to know all the minuteness of hitting it, dinking with it, the spin of it, everything. Similar to when you drive a car, you kind of know all the little quirks and you just get used to using and driving that car. Similar thing with the paddle. You're going to get used to using that paddle more, especially at the net. You'll feel more confident versus bumping around paddles. Each one's going to be a little bit different. You're not going to have the consistency with your play style. So this should be helpful when deciphering the world of pickleball and whittling it down to 3 simple things: the actual material, the thickness, and the shape of the paddle, and make sure that it's fit to your play style and where you want to be as a pickleball player in the near future. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Go have fun playing pickleball, and I will see you on the court.